Om. Om. Welcome to Meaningful Morning. We've completed our youth camp. I'm back in Niagara Falls. Yesterday, the final article that I shared with our youth was on the art of listening. I'm going to read to you 2 paragraphs from this article. You assess yourself. If you're a hearer or if you're a listener. We can learn a lot from every event in life. Just as the honeybee has the special instrument to extract the very essence in the flowers, human beings have a special faculty to maintain the quality of life by learning the art of true listening. This is more on the positive side. One who learns from every experience is one who's listening. Now, comparatively, from the negative side, sometimes we pay attention to what interests us and block out larger areas of reality. Another block to listening occurs when we form an opinion about the level of what is being said. We label the information ahead of time as unimportant, too boring, too complex, or as being nothing new. Due to such internal distractions, we become biased listeners and our minds are tuned out rather than tuned in. Do you know the art of listening? How many of you feel yes? How many of you feel no? When I had completed the evening workshop this past week in Washington, D.C., there was a very traditional student and teacher who came to me afterward. And I was expecting him to share that what I was sharing was too simplistic, too contemporary, but with tears in his eyes. And I couldn't believe that he was crying. He was sharing, this is what we all need. We need the Bhagavad Gita to be shared in a way that we can practice this. I'm putting this to all of you because I know sometimes you feel like you know the Bhagavad Gita, that you want to hear these verses, that this commentator shared this commentary. Unless you're following Bhagavad Gita, unless you're following the science of happiness, then you don't know it. And so what do we need to do? Listen. Meaningful Mornings is a great culture in the art of listening. The Bhagavad Gita teaches yoga. Yoga is a means. Yoga is a means. Yoga is not the ends. At times, we need to be reminded of the ends. When you're driving a far distance and you're focused on the means, mile after mile after mile, but sometimes you check your GPS about how many miles are left. When will I arrive? Yesterday, I was in the Baltimore airport and I was supposed to leave at 10:30. I ended up leaving at 12:30. But what I was doing was checking the updates that I know I have to wait half an hour, half an hour, half an hour, but I'm checking the ends also. I need that reminder that this flight's still going to go, that I'm still going to arrive in Niagara early this morning. The most popular portion of the Bhagavad Gita that reminds us of the end, what it means to be content, what it means to be happy for no reason, is in chapter 2. At the end of chapter 2, the lakshanas, or the signs of one who is content, happy for no reason, is shared. And another powerful expression of this is being shared in chapter 14. Shri Krishna starts with the means. These are the gunas, or the conditioning. Work on this. And what will happen is you will become gunatita, the one who's unconditional. The one who's unconditional is not filled with anything, not filled with laziness or aggressiveness or even quietness, is not filled, but rather is joy. And that's why, in very technical terms, the first conditioning on us is Ananda Maya. Ananda means joy. Maya means filled with joy. And the implication of this, filled with joy, means it's not joy. It's filled with an alien or foreign substance, feeling. The one who's unconditional is joy. Not filled with joy, but rather is joy. In verse 25, the section of the lingas, that's the word, linga, the pointers of one who is unconditional, Shri Krishna shares that they are not impacted by the relative. For them, there is no relative, N-O. They are not putting in effort, but rather are being. For us, what is our pointer? What are we to follow? To know, K-N-O-W, the relative. If you know the relative, you will treat this as being relative. One of your applications of the day was, if you're agitated by any of these conditionings, to put it in a box and throw it away. To feel that it didn't happen. That's you knowing the relative, in which case what happens? There is no relative. In verse 21, Arjuna asks, what is the linga or pointers of one who is unconditional? He also asks, he doesn't use the word linga, but achara, what is a change in my lifestyle whereby I can be unconditional? This is shared in verse 26. Mam cha yo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sa gunan samatityetan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Joy. Shri Krishna shares, Mam, which means me, the icon of being unconditional. Yaha avyabhicharena, the one who is unswerving to me, or the one who is immersed in me. That's the first quote. The implication of this is the one who has not forgotten who Shri Krishna is, the one who's not forgotten who they are. So what is the achara? What is our lifestyle change to feel unconditional? To not forget that this is your nature, this is who you are. The workshop I facilitated this past week was called Right Actions with Right Attitudes. And I took all of the seekers on a journey where we took 4 rights. We already went through this journey in chapter 3. So here's Vivek, okay? Vivek is trying to be joy. So I start with right actions. My next right is right attitudes. My next right is right atma. To start to know that I'm not the body, I'm not the ego. And the final right is the right ananda, that there is no joy outside of me. If there is, it's a reflection of me. If you take 4 rights, where are you? Where are you starting? That's not forgetting who you are. You find who you are, where you are. Bhakti yogena sevate. They're immersed in me. Bhakti yogena, this immersion is they're dedicated to me. How is this expressed? Through seva. To share that I'm immersed in Sri Krishna, but not to follow that up with my action, is hypocrisy. We are in the end of Bhagavad Gita now. Next month, we're in the end of July. Next month, we start chapter 15. And so Sri Krishna is purging any hypocrisy we have. The beauty of this word seva is the notion that this has to be your lifestyle. When I was in Washington, D.C. at the beginning of the month, I was there for a kids camp. And there was a lot of high schoolers that were there as, they're called YVs, youth volunteers. And so many of them are doing this because they need the hours. They need the hours to graduate from high school. They need the hours to get a presidential certificate. And there was so much organization around this, and I felt impure that they should be there because that's the right action. They shouldn't be there for reciprocity. And so later this month, I got to teach all of those youth volunteers for an entire week. And I tried hard to share with them to make seva their lifestyle, where they give, and by giving, they enter a self-reward system. They're still getting, but that getting is not coming from outside. They're getting quietude. They're getting security. Trying to share this even more practically. How do you know you're engaged in seva? You give your time. If you're not giving your time to Sri Krishna or Sri Krishna's causes, then you're missing out on seva, which means you will always be conditioned. Saha gunan sam atityetan. Yaha, the one who, saha, the one who follows this, what has happened to them? Atitya, they've gone beyond. Beyond what? Gunas, all conditionings. But you see the word some is used here. Some means well or comprehensive. I know when I point out such language, for some it's boring, for others it's overwhelming. At least intellectually try to appreciate how perfect Sri Krishna's words are, how non-casual his words are. Every prefix, every suffix has an implication. I had started this chapter with you sharing that humans, they are engaged in a yoga yoni, which means we can evolve or devolve. Here when Krishna shares some atita, that means they've gone beyond devolving, they've gone beyond evolving. That is a magnificent thought, to go beyond evolution. Brahma bhuyaya kalpate, the one whose lifestyle is like this, they are ready. Bhuyaya, to resume, to rediscover. Brahma, that they are not an individual, but rather they are infinity. I can't help but point out the language again. This word bhuyaya, bhuya, that was used in verse 1. Shri Krishna shared, I'm going to share with you again what I've been sharing with you for 13 chapters. And now, very causally or subtly, he's sharing, if you follow this, you will again feel like you're infinity. How many of you like when I point out such matters of language? I'm not going to ask if you dislike it. I don't care. This is important. From inspiration to application. Your application yesterday was to revisit chapter 6, verse 9, the recording on our YouTube channel. How many of you did this? Good. If you're ever struggling with a conflict, when I say if, I really mean when you are struggling with a conflict with another being, come back to that verse. Shri Krishna shares that if you learn how to contemplate, you'll always be able to reconcile this conflict. So, similar thoughts in this chapter. Your application for this morning is, everyone you meet today that you feel close to, ask them if you're a good listener. Anyone you feel close to, ask them if you know the art of listening. But please remember, they have to be close to you, which means there's the possibility they say no. If you go to the bus driver and say, am I a good listener? She's not going to care. And even if she does comment, she's going to say yes. That way you keep moving and leave her alone. Someone who's possibly going to say no. Ask them. Shanti, 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 be joy.